Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this email course, 5 Days for a Better Bond with Your Horse. I'm here with Rose today and she's going to help demonstrate day one, which is how to approach your horse. Now there are two factors that go into how we approach our horses. The first is how we approach them internally. By internally, I mean what's going on with us before we even come to the barn. Since horses are so intuitive, they're going to know whether something's going on with us, whether we're having a good or bad day, whether we're afraid, or if we're upset about something. And more oftentimes than not, I've seen that people who end up being abusive towards their horses are typically have something going on in their own lives. Not to say that we all are abusive, but we're all capable of it, and we're all capable of making our horses tense just because we have something going on internally. So the first thing and the most important thing to do before we come to the barn is to check in with ourselves. Before we even see our horses and we see what's going on with them, we need to know how we're doing, right? So sometimes before I go to the barn, what I'll do is I'll just check in with myself and say, hey, how am I doing today? Am I coming with a lot of intense emotions? Am I coming straight from work? Am I stressed out? Am I upset with my boss? Am I worried about something going on financially? And I know that the barn is a place of solace, and it should be. But if we bring all of those intense emotions to our horses, they're going to pick up on that, and they may not know how to respond to it. So in order to be our horse's best friend, we have to be our own best friend. And that starts with checking in with ourselves and saying, hey, what do I have going on? And just reminding ourselves that everything's going to be okay and that we're going to figure out a solution. And then we can kind of be mindful of what's going on in our lives, and that we can create a solution for ourselves, and then we don't have to bring all of our burden of problem solving to our horse. I think sometimes we think our horse is going to be our therapist, and in a sense they are very therapeutic, but they can't solve our very human problems. And I know that seems really basic to communicate, but I think sometimes we think subconsciously that our horses should just know that we're having a bad day. And they do, but sometimes they don't respond well. Sometimes they respond with tension, and then we've just added an extra element of fear or anxiety to their lesson. So first thing to do is approach them well internally. And then secondly is we want to approach them externally. So internally is how we deal with ourselves. Externally is how do we intentionally approach our horses in relation to them. So the way that we do that is first we want to breathe. So sounds very simple, but whenever I have someone new who's coming to the barn to ride, I tell them that the secret to good horsemanship is to just breathe. So just take a deep breath, relax. If you're already relaxed, that's great. But if you come, like I said, internally with any pressure, just start by breathing. Start by relaxing, and horses will pick up on it, right? So second thing to do is to be in touch with your body language. So if I come at Rose like this, aggressively, or I'm pushing her away with my body language, she's going to respond. But if I'm welcoming, if I'm unassuming, then she's going to be relaxed around me. So the next thing is our tone of voice. We want to, as much as we can, convey our tranquility and just a matter-of-factness in our tone of voice. I think if we come to our horses kind of with a high-pitched tone of voice, or anything that conveys that things are not okay, the horses can pick up on that. Next is how we touch them. So we want to touch them in areas that are safe. So this area right here on their neck and shoulder is always safe. You don't want to come at them all up in their face. See, they don't like that. That's not going to put them at ease. But if I come here, right to their neck, oh, how much better is that, right? And then you can move on from this safe region to touching the rest of their body, right? Even their ears, which is a sensitive area. If you start in a safe place and establish trust, even touching their face will be okay, as long as we just don't start with vulnerable areas, if that makes sense. So the last tip for approaching your horse is just to observe. Are they calm? Are they excited? Are they happy to see you? Are they nickering at you? Are they just relaxed? Are they agitated? Do they seem like they're in pain? Some of these things will be very obvious, like if your horse is lame, you'll see that they're limping. If they have a cut on their leg, you'll see that. So all of these things, even the obvious things, are good to take inventory of, because that's going to affect your whole time with them. It might mean that they're not rideable today or not trainable today. It might mean that you need to have a vet out. But then there are more subtle things, like, are they nervous? Do they step away from you when they normally step towards you? Are they looking everywhere? Are they hypervigilant? All of these things can be indicators of either pain or some circumstance that's changed at the barn that they're nervous about. It could be an indicator of the weather change. I know that when I grew up in Southern California, whenever the rain was coming, the horses knew it first, and they were nervous for the first lesson or two when the rain was coming. So all of these things, the nerves, the agitation, any sort of tension or fear or hypervigilance would all be good indicators that you might need to take things more slowly and see if there are either pain points or if they're nervous about something, and just being sensitive to that, and maybe not doing as intense of a lesson as you were planning, or just taking things more slowly and scaling up instead of going straight into what you normally do, just to give them time to relax. So that's it for today's video. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for day 2 of 5 days of a better bond with your horse. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.